Today we're going to have some more stories from Reddit. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to my channel, like the video if you enjoy it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now, without further ado, let's go. Here is my story. My wife and I met at a bar in Chicago. She was with 5 people, 2 men and 3 women. I was there alone that night to watch a football game. As soon as I spotted her, I wanted to talk to her. I resisted the urge for a bit, but then she made eye contact with me, and I was smitten. Her smile was so genuine, it made her eyes squint. When there was room for me to squeeze in, I switched chairs at the bar and greeted her. She seemed very pleased with me from the start. I found out she was with her sister and 4 co-workers to celebrate her 25th birthday. I was 27 at the time. I ordered her a drink, and we ended up talking through the entire football game. She joked with me about how I was missing it, but I told her I wasn't going to miss this, gesturing to her. We dated for 8 months before we just decided to move in with each other. We wanted to see each other more often, and it felt like the only way to do that was to share a place. We both worked full-time, alternating shifts, so that there were many days when we couldn't see each other at all and a few rare ones when we got to see each other all day. Before I knew it, we were together for 6 years. She helped me through the loss of my father and then my mother a week later. She always said I was her rock, but I could only see it the other way around. She was creative even in her empathetic sadness with me. We spent hours each weekend watching birds, marking ones we saw in a book my mother used to write in. I was grateful to have her, and I decided to marry her. Of course, the first year was blissful. I knew it would be. To celebrate our 1-year wedding anniversary, we had a party at the bar we met nearly a decade ago. She was still working the same job along with her 4 co-workers, so they were there. Her sister and my best friend were there too. We were surrounded by loved ones and truly happy. On a Tuesday, my wife borrowed my car to get to work since hers was being worked on. I had to come home an hour earlier to do this for her, but my boss respected my work so much he didn't mind helping me out when I needed it. The next morning, when I was leaving for work, I saw that my wife had left the windows down all night long. That was unusual. Inside the car, it smelled like cigarette smoke and cologne. Besides that, the gas was much lower than where it would have been if she'd only gone to work and come home. I had fallen asleep on the couch the night before, so I wasn't sure if my wife got home later than usual. At work, I texted her asking why the car smelled and where the gas went. She said she didn't want me to freak out, but she'd given a ride home to one of her coworkers, Jared. I knew Jared ever since the night we met, but I'd never gotten that close to him. Upon hearing this, I sent him a message, and he confirmed that she did give him a ride but said he didn't smoke cigarettes. This puzzled me. Instead of confronting my wife more, I let it slide and made it my goal to get to know Jared and hang out with him. We started going out to play pool and drink together on Thursday nights, and I invited my best friend to come along. I asked Jared not to tell my wife we were hanging out because I needed to figure out something. And I only told my wife I was meeting my best friend each Thursday, so it was a half-truth. Sometime later, my wife came home from work wearing different clothes than she left in. Her other clothes were in a shopping bag, and I could tell she was hoping I wouldn't ask or notice. When I asked, she said she just felt like going shopping and wearing something new. She did a twirl for me. I forced a smile, but I knew something was up. My wife always washed new clothes before wearing them. She started a load of laundry with the clothes she was wearing earlier that day and went to the bathroom. I stopped it and smelled her clothes. They smelled unusual, nothing like her usual scent. I confronted her about it as she sat on the toilet. She said I was being crazy and she didn't know what else to tell me besides the truth. She said she just got new clothes and didn't do anything wrong. The next day, I came home from work just as a red car pulled away from our house. I asked my wife who it was, and she hesitated before saying it was her sister who stopped by for a visit. I immediately texted her sister to ask what kind of car she drives. She replied saying a black SUV and asked me why I didn't respond. Instead, I was doing my very best to remain calm as my wife and I ate dinner. I couldn't shake the feeling that she was cheating on me. I didn't know how to prove it without her shooting me down and explaining everything away. I also didn't want our marriage to end. We started playing Xbox together when her phone pinged. She read something, then sighed, just as I asked her who it was. My phone pinged as well. She told me it was Jared asking her to cover his shift at work in 30 minutes because he was unexpectedly invited to a concert that evening. I told her that was weird because Jared had just texted me to see if I wanted to meet at the bar. She stared at me dead in the eyes for what felt like an eternity. I could see her breathing heavily. She said she didn't realize Jared and I talked to each other without missing a beat. I reached for her phone. I got a good hold on it, but so did she. We struggled as I tried to pry it from her hands. She kept screaming at me to stop, saying I was hurting her. I finally got it from her and tried to get away, but she tackled me to the floor. I shrugged her off within a few moments, so she grabbed my phone and threatened to smash it if I didn't give her back her phone. I thought for a moment, but I came to the conclusion that finding out who my wife was cheating on me with was more important to me than having to buy a new phone. I had to see for myself what she was desperately trying to keep from me. I dove into the bathroom and locked the door behind me. She continued screaming in frustration and threatening to smash my phone a few more times before she actually did it, and pieces came sliding in under the door. My hands were shaking as I read her messages with someone named Adam. She'd sent him nudes, and he returned the favor. One of them included his face. So I knew who I was looking for. They talked about their sex, how good it was, and how marital sex could never compare to forbidden sex. His most recent text was asking her if she could come up with an excuse to meet him at the very same bar I met my wife in all those years ago. I barged through the bathroom door, smacking my wife's face with it unintentionally. I grabbed my keys as she screamed after me, futilely trying to stop me. I told her I wanted her out of the house by the time I got back. She expressed her disbelief, and I sped away, texting and replying to Adam with her phone that said I was on my way and he should meet me out front. I found him immediately, parked the car, walked straight up to him, and punched him in the face. I asked him in an elevated voice if he just assumed I would never find out he was sleeping with my wife. A small crowd of people gathered around us, gasping and watching the drama unfold. He scrambled to get up, but I pushed him down at least twice before spitting on his face. I told him never to see her again. He finally got up and stumbled away, holding his jaw. When I got home, my wife was sitting on the steps. She noticed the red on my hand and started questioning me. When I didn't respond, she started begging me for forgiveness. She said she never meant to sleep with him, and it only happened once before he started sending her pictures and asking for more. I told her to get out of my house, and this time I yelled at her while looking straight into her eyes. I'm sure she saw no love coming from me because that was all gone. I threw her phone at her, and she caught it by luck, tears pouring out of her eyes like she was the victim. I forcefully told her again to leave, so she went upstairs and started packing. She sat in her car with her stuff for an hour before pulling out of the driveway for the last time. She went to live with her sister, who was an hour and a half away, and she quit her job that same night. It's been 2 years since this happened. We're officially divorced now. But every day since, she sent me a good morning text among other things, trying to get me to respond or show any kind of emotion towards her. She hasn't gotten a new job, and she's gained weight. Her sister is on the verge of kicking her out because she has no ambition in life. She tells me all this in the hopes that it will make me reply to her, but I never do. I'm starting a new relationship now, and I know that when she finds out, it will break her down even more. She knows she lost the love of her life, and there's no one to blame but herself. Opus, I am so sorry your wife did this to you. There is never any valid excuse to cheat on a spouse. Marital sex is supposed to be much more thrilling and special than sex with someone you haven't committed to. Being intimate with someone you've chosen to spend your life with is surely one of the greatest treasures anyone can experience in life. Is it not what so many of us strive for? To find and commit to one love that reciprocates our feelings and values us just the same. The moment infidelity happens, that promise and the sacredness of the marital union is destroyed. It can't be repaired or brought back. Being enough for someone isn't enough. You must continually choose that person, the same person you committed to in the first place, because the moment you stop choosing them, that true love is at risk. To keep a love alive, you must remember why you love them and that they are worthy of your love throughout life. Now, let's get into our next story for today. At the time of this story, I had been with my girlfriend since high school. In school, we shared a group of friends, one of those friends being a kid named Tyler. He was my best friend. And if anyone saw me in high school, Tyler was usually within 5 feet. After we graduated, I was extremely disappointed that my girlfriend moved with her family out of state, but we continued our relationship as a long-distance one. Since she moved away, I was only more encouraged to enlist in the Army, just as my grandfather, father, and older brothers did before me. I served 4 years in Afghanistan. Right at the end of the 4-year mark, I noticed a lump in my testicles. I had surgery on them to remove whatever it was. It turned out to be benign, so not only did I have that to be thankful for, but I was also back in my hometown with my own place to live. Sure, I was recovering from surgery with a diaper on, but I was happy. My girlfriend made the long journey to help take care of me and potentially move in. During all this time, I kept in touch with Tyler, but he told me he couldn't make the trip to come see me and didn't know when he'd be able to. On the first night my friend was in my home, she cleaned up for me and offered to cook us something for dinner. She asked me to look up a recipe for chicken cordon bleu, but my phone was unexpectedly dead and wouldn't charge. She seemed a little hesitant to hand me hers, asking me more than once if I were sure. My phone wouldn't turn on. She passed it off as if she was just disappointed I didn't have a phone anymore and finally handed me hers. In the midst of looking up a recipe, a text message from Tyler came up across the top of the screen. He asked if I suspected anything. My heart rate picked up, and my balls started to hurt. I clicked on the message, and it felt like my stomach jumped into my throat. My girlfriend had been texting him on the entire drive to my house, talking about how she was great at keeping secrets and playing it cool. Tyler was extremely anxious that I was going to find out about them. They'd been having sex while I was deployed, even referring to it as a sexcation. I wasn't sure how long they'd been going at it, but it had apparently happened quite a bit. I saw every part of Tyler I never wanted to see, and he had photos of everything my girlfriend pretended to be so modest about. Pictures were sent between them on my birthday. Even one of the pictures was the same one my girlfriend sent me. That was also at least one day I had talked to both of them on a video call. I never suspected them of anything, and they never even told me they talked to each other. I was under the impression they lost contact after high school. Suddenly, my world was crashing down, and I was hungry and helpless. My girlfriend asked me if I found anything good, and all I said was, yeah, and showed her the texts. Her jaw dropped, and she turned red. She grabbed her phone from me and swore that they never actually had sex, claiming it was all fantasy talk, and they were only worried about me finding out. They'd been sending pictures and having video calls. I told her I wasn't about to believe her lies. I told her to leave me and never come back. She was shocked. She tried to ask me how I was going to recover alone, but I told her I'd be better off figuring it out myself than with a backstabbing piece of trash. She withdrew into herself, gathered her things, and left. At that moment, I was proud of myself for kicking her out, wearing a diaper and all. I didn't have a phone, so I survived in my home until I was well enough to go out, replace my phone, and order some chicken cordon bleu. Thankfully, the army made it easy for me to survive and be comfortable living alone. I waited until I was ready before I jumped back in the dating pool. I hadn't been single since high school, but in a way, I was alone the entire time. I never truly had a girlfriend or best friend. Tyler reached out to me just an hour after my ex left my house, but I never responded to him. He proved he wasn't a friend at all. Everyone in my hometown knew of us and eventually found out what my high school sweetheart did to me as I served in Afghanistan and recovered from surgery. Each time she tries to come back and visit, no one wants to see or talk to her. She brings Tyler along, which makes it worse. He knows they aren't welcome there anymore. The last time they visited, I heard they were arguing in public. My ex's parents have since moved back here, so she's extremely embarrassed and just wants to move on, but can't. Not after betraying me as she did. I'm regarded as a war hero, neighbor, and friend around here, and I think justice has been served. Opus, my reaction. With the common mentality in today's society, I feel as though long-distance relationships rarely go as planned. A man can be worthy of the same loyalty he's offering a woman and yet never find it. With shortening attention spans, heightened lust, and naivety spreading like a plague, it's better to learn to love the sanctity of being alone and loving yourself. Then, when a worthy woman presents herself, you'll know it, and you'll be ready to love. I'm happy to hear that you're doing well, and I wish you the best of luck and love in life. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's stories. That's the story. If you liked it, please support us with a like as well as subscribe to our channel. Write in the comments what you think about the story. Thank you for being here with us.